The mockery begins. The massive trade station, Nexus 7, hung in the void between star systems like a metallic flower blooming in space. Its 7 arms stretched out from a central hub, each one designed to accommodate different alien species and their unique requirements. Ships from across the galaxy docked here daily, bringing exotic goods, rare materials, and endless opportunities for profit. Captain Elena Rodriguez stood at the viewport of her ship, watching the controlled chaos of interstellar commerce unfold before her. Cargo haulers the size of city blocks moved slowly between docking arms, while sleek passenger liners darted past them like silver fish. The sight never failed to amaze her, even after 3 years of secret observations from the shadows of space. Her ship, the Wanderer, looked nothing like the magnificent vessels surrounding it. Where other ships gleamed with polished hulls and elegant curves, the Wanderer appeared to be held together with spare parts and hope. Rust stains marked its grey hull, and several panels seemed to have been replaced with whatever materials were available. To any observer, it looked like the kind of ship that desperate traders used when they couldn't afford anything better, which was exactly the impression Elena wanted to give. Lieutenant Commander James Chen approached from the engineering section, his expression carefully neutral. Like the rest of the crew, he had trained for years to play his role perfectly. His uniform was slightly wrinkled, and he carried a datapad that looked several generations behind current technology. "Captain, we're receiving clearance to dock at Arm 6, he reported. "The Korthok representative specifically requested we be placed in the cargo section rather than the diplomatic bays." Elena smiled slightly. Of course they did. They want to make sure we understand our place in the galactic hierarchy. Through the communication system, a harsh voice spoke in heavily accented standard galactic. "Human vessel Wanderer, this is Nexus Control. You are cleared for docking at Cargo Bay 47. Please maintain minimum velocity and avoid interference with commercial traffic." The tone was dismissive, treating them like an annoyance rather than legitimate traders. Elena had heard that same tone, directed at dozens of other species over the years. It was the sound of established powers looking down on newcomers. "Acknowledged, Nexus Control," Elena responded with perfect politeness. "Thank you for accommodating us." As the Wanderer slowly approached its assigned docking bay, other ships moved away to give them plenty of space. Not out of courtesy, but because they clearly didn't trust the human vessel's structural integrity. Elena could see alien crew members through their viewports, some pointing and laughing at the primitive human ship. The docking process took longer than usual as Nexus Control repeatedly questioned their systems and certifications. Each delay was accompanied by barely concealed impatience from the traffic controllers, as if they were doing humanity a great favor by allowing them into civilized space at all. Finally, the Wanderer settled into its assigned bay with a gentle thud that resonated through the ship's hull. Elena gathered her diplomatic materials and prepared to meet the galaxy's most powerful trading civilizations. Her team consisted of just 3 people: herself, Commander Chen, and Dr. Sarah Park, the xenobiologist and cultural specialist. The airlock cycled open with a hiss of equalizing pressure, and they stepped into Nexus 7's main commercial district. The sheer scale of the place was overwhelming. The ceiling stretched up into misty darkness, supported by massive columns that could have housed entire cities. Holographic advertisements in dozens of languages floated through the air, advertising everything from exotic spices to planet-cracking mining equipment. Alien species moved through the crowds like living rainbows. The 6-armed Velkani merchants gestured rapidly as they negotiated deals, their voices creating musical harmonies. Massive Gornash traders plodded along on 4 legs, their shaggy fur decorated with status symbols. Ethereal Confederation members drifted past like living crystals, their bodies catching and reflecting the station's lights in beautiful patterns. All of them stopped to stare at the humans. Alina heard whispers following them as they made their way toward the diplomatic quarter. The universal translator picked up fragments of conversation in various languages, most of it unflattering. Look at their clothes, ... so primitive, ... I heard they still use chemical propulsion, ... 3 representatives for an entire species. How pathetic, ... double quotes. Did you see their ship? It's barely holding together, ... Commander Chen leaned close to Alina as they walked. They're certainly not making any effort to hide their opinions. Good, Alina replied quietly. The more they underestimate us, the better. The diplomatic quarter was located in Nexus 7's central hub, where gravity was lighter and the architecture more formal. Here, representatives from major galactic powers maintained permanent offices for handling interstellar trade disputes and negotiations. The humans had requested a meeting with the Big Four, the Korthok Empire, the Velkani Trade Consortium, the Ethereal Confederation, and the Gornash Republic. Together, these 4 civilizations controlled most of the galaxy's major trade routes. The meeting room was impressive in a way designed to intimidate visitors. The ceiling was transparent, offering a view of space and the constant traffic around the station. The conference table was carved from a single piece of crystallized stardust, its surface reflecting colors that didn't have names in human language. Each chair was designed for a different species, emphasizing the diversity and power of the galactic community. Commander Dexvolta of the Korthak Empire arrived first. He was typical of his reptilian species, tall, lean, and covered in scales that shifted color based on his emotional state. Currently, they showed the deep green of barely contained disdain. His uniform was immaculate, decorated with ribbons and medals that proclaimed his importance to anyone who cared to look. So, he said in standard galactic, his forked tongue flicking out to taste the air, these are the humans we have heard so much about. His scales shifted toward yellow, indicating amusement. You are smaller than I expected. High Merchant Zarathol of the Velkani arrived next, her 6 arms moving in complex patterns that served as both greeting and status display. Her species communicated as much through gesture as through words, and every movement carried meaning. She wore traditional Velkani trade robes, but Alina could see the subtle technology woven into the fabric: personal shields, communication devices, and sensors that could analyze anything she touched. Greetings, human representatives, Zarathol said, her voice carrying the musical quality of her species. We are curious to see what you believe you can offer established galactic civilization. The third to arrive was Admiral Kes Nordwin of the Ethereal Confederation. Her crystalline body caught the room's light and split it into dancing rainbows across the walls. She moved with the fluid grace of her people, seeming to float rather than walk. When she spoke, her voice resonated like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. Humanity seeks entry into galactic commerce, she observed, an ambitious goal for such a young species. Finally, Merchant General Brock Ironmane of the Gornash Republic entered the room. He was massive even by the standards of his species, standing nearly 3 meters tall on 4 powerful legs. His shaggy brown fur was streaked with silver, and his intelligent eyes were almost hidden beneath heavy brows. When he spoke, his voice rumbled like distant thunder. I have reviewed your preliminary proposals, he said without preamble. They are ... interesting. Alina took her seat at the table, flanked by her two companions. Across from them sat representatives of civilizations that commanded thousands of worlds, controlled trade routes spanning entire galactic arms, and possessed technology that could reshape reality itself. The contrast was intentionally dramatic. Honored representatives, Alina began. Earth extends its gratitude for this opportunity to present our proposals for expanded trade relations. Commander Voltaires' scales shifted to bright yellow, a sign of open amusement among his people. Earth seeks expanded trade relations. You understand, of course, that your species has been in space for less than a century. Most of our civilizations were exploring the galaxy when your people were still discovering fire. We understand our position as newcomers, Alina replied diplomatically. That's precisely why we're here, seeking guidance and partnership from established powers. High Merchant Zarathal's 6 arms moved in patterns that Alina recognized as barely concealed laughter. Partnership suggests equality, human. What could your species possibly offer that we cannot produce ourselves with greater efficiency? Alina activated her presentation device, a deliberately outdated model that drew more amused looks from the aliens. We believe human innovation and adaptability could bring fresh perspectives to existing challenges. The holographic display showed images of human agricultural techniques, manufacturing processes, and technological developments. To alien eyes, they looked primitive and inefficient compared to established galactic standards. Admiral Nordwin's crystalline body flickered with colors that indicated polite skepticism. Your farming methods are ... quaint. But we have been synthesizing food at the molecular level for millennia. Your manufacturing relies on crude assembly lines when we can shape matter at the atomic level. Admiral Nordwin accessed more of the station's sensor networks, her crystalline body now pulsing with rapid, anxious colors. The energy patterns are becoming more complex. It's not just harmonic resonance. There are subspace fluctuations, quantum, field manipulations, and something else, ... Something I don't recognize. Elena's communicator crackled to life again. Captain, we're receiving multiple scanning attempts from station security and several docked vessels. Should we maintain passive countermeasures? Please do, Commander Chen. We don't want to accidentally damage anyone's equipment. High Merchant Zarathal's arms had stopped their graceful movements and now hung stiffly at her sides. In her species, this was a sign of complete shock. Passive countermeasures. Your ship is actively defending itself against our most advanced sensors. Well, Alina said thoughtfully, it would be rude to let people scan us without permission. But don't worry, we're not harming their equipment, just ... redirecting their efforts. Merchant General Ironmane had been accessing his people's military databases, searching for any reference to technology that could produce the effects they were witnessing. His massive frame trembled slightly as the search results came back empty. There are no records of any species possessing this level of sensor stealth combined with harmonic field generation, he said, his voice carrying the weight of dawning realization. What are you? Alina smiled, and for the first time since the meeting began, it wasn't the humble smile of a supplicant seeking favors. It was the confident smile of someone who had been playing a very complex game and was finally ready to reveal their hand. We're human, she said simply. But perhaps we should clarify what that means. She activated her communicator again. Commander Chen, please initiate Phase 2 of our cultural exchange demonstration. Acknowledged, Captain. Beginning phase 2 now. The harmonic vibration changed, becoming more complex and musical. What had been a simple thrumming note evolved into something that resembled a symphony played on instruments that didn't exist. Throughout Nexus 7, beings stopped what they were doing to listen to the impossible music resonating through the station's structure. But the music wasn't just beautiful. It was functional. Admiral Nordwin's crystalline form began to resonate in harmony with the sound, and suddenly she could perceive details about the station's structure that her species, most advanced sensors, had never detected. She could see stress fractures that were too small to measure, material fatigue that wouldn't be visible for decades, and design flaws that had never been discovered. The harmonics are acting as a diagnostic system, she whispered in amazement. They're revealing structural information about the entire station. Commander Volta's personal scanner was now displaying readouts that made no sense according to established physics. This is impossible. The energy requirements for this kind of field generation should be enormous. Where is your ship getting the power? Elena's expression remained pleasantly conversational. Oh, we're not using very much power at all. This is actually one of our more efficient systems. High Merchant Zarathol finally found her voice again. Efficient? You're demonstrating technology that surpasses our most advanced research laboratories, and you call it efficient. Well, Elena said, efficiency is relative. This is actually old technology by our current standards. We developed harmonic field manipulation about 15 years ago. The silence that followed was profound. Even the station's background noise seemed muted in comparison to the revelation that humans had been casually using technology that the galaxy's most advanced civilizations couldn't duplicate. Merchant General Ironmane was the first to speak. 15 years ago. But your ship, your equipment, everything we've observed about your civilization suggests primitive technological development. Elena gestured toward the meeting room's viewport, where the Wanderer sat in its docking bay like a rusty, battered cargo hauler. Appearances can be deceiving. We've found it useful to let people form their own conclusions about our capabilities. Commander Chun's voice came through the communicator again. Captain, we're receiving urgent communication requests from over 200 vessels in the area. Station security is requesting immediate explanations for the harmonic anomalies. Please. Extend our apologies for any inconvenience, Elena replied. Assure everyone that all effects are temporary and completely harmless. She turned back to the alien representatives, who were all staring at her with expressions of dawning comprehension and growing alarm. Honored delegates, she said, I believe we may have started this conversation from incorrect assumptions. You've been evaluating humanity based on what you could observe with your sensors and intelligence networks. That's perfectly reasonable. However, you were observing exactly what we wanted you to observe. Admiral Nordwin's crystalline body had stopped flickering and was now glowing with a steady, intense light that indicated maximum analytical processing. You've been deliberately concealing your true technological level. For how long? Since we achieved faster-than-light travel, Elena admitted. About 80 years ago, we realized that announcing our presence to established galactic civilizations might not be the wisest approach. So we decided to observe and learn before making formal contact. The implications hit the alien representatives like physical blows. If humanity had been secretly observing galactic civilization for 80 years, they knew everything. Trade routes, military capabilities, political relationships, technological developments, resource locations, all of it. Commander Volta's scales had shifted to black. a color his species displayed only in the face of existential threats. You've been spying on us for 8 decades, studying our weaknesses, learning our secrets, preparing for what? For this conversation, Alina said simply. We wanted to understand galactic civilization before we joined it. We wanted to know what kind of neighbors we would be dealing with. High Merchant Zarathol's arms began moving again, but now in patterns that indicated rapid calculation rather than amusement. The implications are staggering. If your observational capabilities match your demonstrated technology, you know more about our civilizations than we know about each other. Knowledge is valuable, Alina agreed. But we didn't gather it for conquest or exploitation. We gathered it to ensure peaceful coexistence. Merchant General Ironmane accessed his military protocols, his massive frame tensing as he prepared for potential combat. Peaceful coexistence. You deceived us, manipulated us, and violated our sovereignty with unauthorized surveillance. Elena's expression became more serious, though not hostile. We observed public activities in open space. We never infiltrated your worlds or accessed classified information. Think of it as ... extensive background research before a business meeting. Background research. Commander Voltaires' voice carried dangerous undertones. You made us look like fools. We dismissed you as primitives, while you possessed technology that makes our most advanced systems look crude. That was never our intention. Alina said, her diplomatic training evident in her calm response to their anger. We came here hoping for mutual respect and beneficial relationships. The technology demonstration was only necessary because you seemed determined to judge us by appearances rather than capabilities. Admiral Nordwin had been analyzing the harmonic frequencies with increasing fascination. Your technology doesn't just surpass ours, it operates on completely different principles. This isn't evolutionary advancement, this is revolutionary innovation. Alina nodded. Human development followed a different path than most galactic civilizations. We learned to innovate out of necessity rather than comfort. The harmonic resonance began to fade, returning to the subtle vibration they had first noticed. Throughout Nexus 7, normal operations resumed as the mysterious effects dissipated, but the alien representatives knew that nothing would ever be quite the same again. So, High Merchant, Zarathol said, her musical voice carrying new notes of respect and wariness. What happens now? You've revealed your deception and demonstrated your superiority. What are your real demands? Alina looked around the table at the 4 representatives, each one now seeing humanity in an entirely different light. The dismissive arrogance was gone, replaced by calculating assessment and growing respect. Our demands remain exactly the same as they were an hour ago, she said. We want recognition as equals in galactic civilization. We want fair access to trade routes and technology exchange programs. We want the right to exist and expand without having to hide our true nature. Commander Voltar's scales had shifted to deep blue, indicating careful thought. And if we refuse, if we decide that humanity is too dangerous to be allowed full participation in galactic affairs. Elena's expression didn't change, but something in her eyes did. For just a moment, the alien representatives glimpsed the steel beneath the diplomatic courtesy. That would be unfortunate, she said quietly. We much prefer cooperation to conflict. But we will not be caged or controlled because others find our existence inconvenient. The message was clear without being explicitly threatening. Humanity had demonstrated advanced technology while concealed as primitives. They had observed galactic civilization for decades without being detected. They had capabilities that the galaxy's most powerful civilizations couldn't match or counter, and they preferred peace. But they were prepared for alternatives. Merchant General Ironmane was the first to break the tense silence. What guarantees can you offer that humanity will use its capabilities responsibly? Alina smiled again, and this time it carried warmth along with confidence. The same guarantee every species offers, honored merchant. Our word, our actions, and our commitment to mutual prosperity. Admiral Nordwin's crystalline body began to pulse with colors that indicated deep consideration. We will need time to discuss these revelations with our respective governments. Of course, Alina agreed. Diplomatic decisions shouldn't be rushed. We're prepared to remain at Nexus 7 as long as necessary for proper deliberations. Hi. Merchant Zarathal's arms moved in patterns that Alina now recognized as signals of respect rather than condescension. The galaxy will be very different now that humanity's true nature is known. Different doesn't have to mean worse, Alina said hopefully. Diversity of capability can lead to benefits for everyone. Commander Voltaires' scales had settled into neutral gray, indicating acceptance of new realities. One question remains, human. Why reveal yourselves now? You could have continued your deception indefinitely. Alina looked out the viewport at the vast expanse of space beyond the station, filled with ships from dozens of civilizations, all going about their business under the assumption that they understood the galaxy they lived in. Because hiding forever isn't living, she said simply. Humanity didn't reach for the stars just to skulk in the shadows. We want to be part of something larger than ourselves. We want to contribute to galactic civilization, not just observe it. The four representatives exchanged glances that carried volumes of unspoken communication. The balance of power in the galaxy had shifted dramatically in the space of a single afternoon. The primitive species they had dismissed with casual arrogance was actually a technological powerhouse that had been studying them for generations. Well, Merchant General Ironmane said, with something that might have been a chuckle, this will certainly make for interesting negotiations. Elena's smile became genuinely warm. The most interesting negotiations are between equals, honored merchant. Perhaps now we can begin. Outside the viewport, the Wanderer sat peacefully in its docking bay, looking exactly like the battered cargo hauler it had always appeared to be. But now the alien representatives knew better. Appearances could be very deceiving indeed, and humanity had just announced to the galaxy that they were ready to stop deceiving and start participating as themselves.